Hey gang, it's your GM Drakeen here. Today we're going to be talking about adamantine weapons. Um, they're mentioned in Xanathar's The Monster Manual. Um, it says Drow have them. There's a few other things mentioned that they're made out of ultra hard alloy. They're basically indestructible, um, and you can basically destroy objects with them. So they're super hard. And it mentions the cost. That's all well and good. Let's move on to the good stuff. So again, I'm usually adding to these things that are already existing. I mean, since they're mentioned so many different places, I figured, and you don't really see any magical items on the magical tables made out of adamantine weapons. I felt like that I could add something to that for my game. So, you know, adamantine armor is one of the most sought after things in the game because it avoids critical hits. So, I had questions. So, what about adamantine weapons? What about an adamantine shield? You know, um, things like that. So, let's get into it. All adamantine weapons are prepared with molten adamantine found along the ley lines of the Fair's Rest that radiate magic in the Underdark. So, molten adamantine is poured into these shapes for weapons and armor. It's how it's made. I feel like it's important to figure out where it's made in. It's usually made in Underdark. When using an adamantine weapon, the critical hit range is increased by 1. If the weapon bearer would normally land a critical hit on a roll of 20, the weapon bearer would land a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20 when using an adamantine weapon or adamantine ammunition. Once ammunition is fired, it is no longer magical, but the ammo still has the increased critical hit range. So, um, I think given the indestructible nature of it, I felt like it should have some additional, you know, deadly properties. And so I added this little bit to adamantine weapons. They're still magical, but they have this increased hit range. When adamantine weapons are used against adamantine armor, the critical hit range is not increased. However, it is possible to land a critical hit on a natural 20 versus adamantine armor when using adamantine weapons or ammunition. So this is a bit of a change, but it makes sense if you're using an adamantine weapon against adamantine armor. But how often does that happen? But if you did, you could crit on a 20. And adamantine weapons also bypass damage reduction of constructs. So that's mentioned, but you don't see a lot of that either. So let's continue to move on. Um, so a weapon can only be crafted out of adamantine if it is usually crafted out of iron or steel. So these, we're not talking about wooden weapons here, like a quarterstaff here. It's usually got to be something that can be made out of iron or steel. And like we just talked about, if you're using ammunition, it becomes non-magical. And then I added this thing on adamantine shields. Adamantine shields have the following property. While wielding this shield, if you suffer a critical hit from a melee weapon from an attacker you can see, you may use your reaction to make the critical hit a normal hit. Vertical critical hits are treated normally. So say you are suffering, it's one thing you could use a shield for. So I don't know, say you have adamantine armor and you get critically hit by an adamantine weapon, you could use an adamantine shield to avoid. I know that's like really unlikely, but I thought that would be a useful property for it. And also, I added adamantine studded leather. So this is studded leather that's made with adamantine studs in the armor. While this does not function the same as adamantine medium or heavy armor, if you suffer a critical hit from a melee weapon from an attacker, you can see again, you may use your reaction to make the critical hit a normal hit. Further critical hits are treated normally, so that's important too. So this can only stop one critical hit, but hey, that's better than zero, right? We all know how, if you've played this game, we all know how dangerous critical hits can be. So that's just my addition to adamantine weapons. What do you guys think? Worth it? I think so. I think it's kind of a cool thing for, you know, to add some additional properties to Adamantine. But anyway, these are my games again. If you're interested, links are in the description. Take care, gang.